right, welcome to our Friday edition of the Wisconsin Weather Experts right here on Fox Local and the FOX6 YouTube channel. Don't forget to click subscribe on the YouTube channel so you're always up to date on everything that we have available for you. And remember, when we're done with today's show, if you're like, what did he say about that thing? You can always go back and check it out because it's always there on demand for you to bring it back up and watch it all over again. We're going to start our day, of course, talking about our gray day today and our lack of a green Christmas, but check this out. We have some beautiful color to share. No, it wasn't necessarily the white Christmas. We did certainly lack in that category, had a bit of a green Christmas, but you can see the home was lit up. We had some red and white, just like a candy cane there, some green accents around it to help with the holiday mood, bring some color back to this season. Next time they do this special light show will be on New Year's Eve, so that'll be exciting for sure. And hey, it is a gray day, but if you want to add a little color to your day, you can go for a little skate. I love peeking in on the folks that are down at Red Arrow Park. If we take a look at Graphics 2 Cam there, you can see them scooting around, doing their thing. Got a couple folks pushing the little helpers, but most people are doing pretty well all by themselves down at the Slice of Ice, as it is known here in town. Now, if we look at yesterday, of course, Christmas Day, we hit a high of 40. We had a low of 35. And that means that our high didn't set a record, but was well above average. And the low, again, didn't set a record, but it was actually warmer than the typical high for the climate period. Now, if you look at the records, they were 61 and -12 for the high and the low. Notice, though, the years. We hit the record high for Christmas Day in 1982. The very next year, in 1983, we set the record low temperature for the 24-hour period of -12. To have extreme records like that in back-to-back years is very unusual. But hey, it happened on Christmas 82 and then Christmas 83. Well, Christmas 2025 didn't have any precipitation of any kind, rain or snow. Typically, we'll pick up a little bit through that time period. The record's there, just under an inch of either rain or liquid equivalent of snow, 0.96, and that was set in 2009. A century earlier, we had the record for snow on Christmas Day of 6 inches. There you can see all the stats kind of spelled out for you there. And again, didn't quite deliver that hallmark white Christmas that we wanted, but we could certainly have done quite a bit worse. In fact, speaking of that, I want to take you to Southern California. Southern California feeling some rain, quite a bit of it. It's starting to ease up a little today, but I mean, look at these crazy pictures there. So compared to what we had, this is obviously a dramatic scene. The storm on Christmas Eve raised concerns about flooding and mudslides, especially in the burn scar areas from the wildfires. Some local businesses stayed open yesterday, even with the rain, saying they were welcoming customers coming in as long as they could do that and stay safe. The storm also brought some pretty windy weather to many parts of California. So all this time when we were mild and green, we had that rain there, shut down highways and flooded parts of the state. The heavy rain triggered the mudslides in the northern part of the state, as well as parts of the southern region. Some of the state's mountainous areas were under evacuation orders because of the snow that was dumped up there, heavy wet snow in the Sierra Nevadas, and a flood watch remains in effect even through today for Los Angeles. Now, a massive cleanup is underway in some parts of California because the heavy rainfall led to flash flooding and mudslides, of course. The Wrightwood, California, suffering some of the worst damage. Homes and vehicles were buried under mud and debris. Fire officials there say more than 120 personnel worked right through Wednesday night, so right through Christmas night, right into Christmas Eve night, right through into Christmas morning, and then evacuated residents to get them out and safely out from under the mud in some cases.
I woke up at 8 a.m. with a phone call from my dad saying that the firefighters had just rescued him. And I said, from what? And he said, from 2 feet of water in my apartment.
Wow, what a mess right there. More flooding and mudslides, of course, across the state. That's just after that heavy rain. Forecasters warn the additional rain could increase the risk of debris flows in water-logged areas scorched by the wildfires in January. Now, of course, there was also snow, as we talked about, at the higher elevations. Look at this scene right there. Wow, as you take a look at the winter storm that hammered the Sierra Nevadas of California, the mountains there, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, bringing a reported 4.5 feet of snow to the town of Mammoth Lakes. National Weather Service in Reno, Nevada issued a winter storm warning. So you can see whiteout conditions in that video. Folks in the area may have wished for the white Christmas, but I think they probably would agree that Mother Nature perhaps over-delivered just a little bit. Yeah, just unbelievable in that area, and the snow just continued to pile up. But again, on the upside, it did have skiers in some pretty good moods across the area. Some of that snow may not have been perfect skiing snow, though, as it was a little bit more of the wet kind of snow than the powder that folks are looking for. This was the scene of a pileup, tragically, at a gas station along I-80 in Placer County in California. Multiple cars lost traction with this slushy snow in the parking lot. Snow continued to fall, and drivers there kind of collided one by one, just slid into trouble. Some drivers used shovels to kind of clear a path. Others just struggled to put their chains on and see what they could do in the slushy conditions out there. Meanwhile, places like Lake Tahoe, of course, quite happy with all of this snowfall, and it's not done yet. This recent round of snow was definitely welcomed by the ski resorts in the Sierras. North Star ski area reporting 23 inches of snow over the last 24 hours and 54 inches over the last 2 days on the South Shore. Heavenly Ski Resort says it's received 2.5 feet of snow over the last couple of days. We're told the snow that fell has made a really good base for skiers and snowboarders, and now that the temperatures have dropped.
This should be one of the best bases we've had in a decade. It's frozen deep down, and then as that wet snow freezes, it's really going to bond well. Our biggest concern in the Sierra Avalanche Center concern is it's the layers up above, the layers after that first foot that we have, because we've had varying temperatures and a lot of wind. We've got a really good system going with more on the way. However, that has raised the avalanche danger exponentially.
Yeah, it's our good buddy Coop there that we've checked in with repeatedly over the show, giving us the scoop. Coop with the scoop on the snow up there. Sustained winds over some of the passes did hit some pretty high numbers, though. 100 miles per hour yesterday with several inches of snow. The forecast today, you could expect more terrain to open up in the ski resorts this weekend. If you are a skier and you've got some time and the cash to get out there, it's all kind of a good Christmas gift for you. You have to give the employees, though, some time to make sure everything there is safe. Looks like Coop's pretty excited about it. All right, let's talk about our weather. We don't have mountains of snow for our skiers. And yeah, we do have our own little hills around here if you haven't checked them out. It's always a little fun. Maybe do some tubing or some skiing. You do see some gray conditions across the area right now. And you notice this low. This is the one that came through overnight and early this morning. Actually got a couple of thunderstorms popping from that. Weren't too intense, but probably woke a couple of folks up in Ozaukee County. And now that's into parts of Pennsylvania, and New York, and look at the snow coming down into southern Ontario. But we're in behind that, and this high pressure ridge is going to keep things fairly calm. This mess might cause you some travel delays, as it is impacting some larger international airports like Detroit, Toronto, Buffalo, perhaps a little bit as you get down toward Newark there as well. On the west coast, again, there's all this system continuing to impact and really hit hard with that snow and rain. They do still have that flood watch in place for most of California, let's face it, and numerous other high wind related warnings and watches in the area. And look at all of the snow related warnings and watches as you look to the west as well. Of course, it's all elevation based for the most part, but in places where it's not necessarily a ski town, this is going to be a lot of snow to dig out from under. In areas that have their entire local economy hinged on it, though, they're pretty happy about that. Now, back here at home, the low is making its way out. You can see it kind of curled up right there over southern Michigan. In behind it, it is cloudy, but it is calm, and high pressure is going to keep it that way as it settles in across the region for the next little while. Next thing up is yet another warm front to push in here with some more moisture. but it's trailed by a cold front later Sunday to drop those temperatures, and we go from rain to snow. So let's go take a look ahead here with Sky Vision Plus. Now, as we roll through the animation, you'll notice the pretty easygoing Friday, and for the most part throughout the day on Saturday as well. And then here comes that rain on Sunday. Heavies up a little bit Sunday evening. Really gets going into the snow by Sunday night. Now, the big change up comes when that colder air kicks in. We're still pretty mild right now, and even the colder air in the immediate here isn't bitter cold, but it is going to dip. We're going to get down into some 20s, and we'll go from that rain to snow. And I think we could get an inch to 2 or 3 worth of slushy snow through Sunday night and into Monday morning. So make sure you join us on Monday for Wisconsin Weather Experts, and definitely join us for our weekend shows to keep you updated on what's happening with that. If we take a look at our numbers and even stack up the wind chills here, normally we'd use this graphic on a day when it was cold and windy to illustrate the fact that, wind chill is a problem. This is my way of illustrating the fact that we're not really having much of a problem in the short term. In fact, the wind chill numbers themselves are actually closer to the average highs without the wind that we would get this time of year. All right, seeing as many of you may be watching us on your phone or your tablet from your cabin or from grandma's house, I thought we'd take our little tour around of some of our day planners just to let you know what's happening where you might be. If you're joining us from Rhinelander via Fox Local, a cloudy low to mid 30s kind of day there. We travel to Wausau. You can see the cloudy conditions there, mostly again in those low to mid 50s with light northwest wind. Off we go to Eau Claire, mostly in the low to mid 30s there as well as we go through the course of the day. Back into the 40s as you travel home to Milwaukee. Over to Madison we go, and yes, upper 30s and low 40s as we go through our day today. Green Bay checking in, looking at some mid 30s there and some pretty cloudy conditions as well. Now, as we get to our 6-day planner, you'll notice that change up, as I mentioned. The big change comes on the weekend for us as we transition from the rain to the snow. Make sure you are tuning in through the course of the weekend to get updates on that so we can keep you safe and sound and right back here to watch the show again on Monday. Now, as we go to break, today kicks off the first day of Kwanzaa celebrations. It's time to honor and reflect on the African American tradition. It's to light the candle each day for 7 days in honor of 7 different principles. Among those are unity, which is today's theme, purpose, and faith, to name a few. Kwanzaa was established in 1966 by a professor of African American Studies, and his non-religious celebrations end on January 1st. So happy Kwanzaa, everybody. Kwanzaa Fest is also something you can check out. This Sunday, community members are getting together for Kwanzaa Fest. There will be local vendors, live poetry, special museum tours, and free giveaways every hour. The event runs from noon until 5 p.m., and of course, all are welcome to come. Conditions this weekend at least will be pretty good for the Saturday event, but that Sunday event, you're at least going to have to bring an umbrella for most of that, as things will get a little soggy throughout the day on Sunday. We'll be back with more Wisconsin Weather Experts in just a couple of minutes. All right, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. I know it's been very mild the last little while. We haven't had to worry quite as much about things like ice and snow and clearing the walk. But as sodium and chloride levels continue to rise in Wisconsin's drinking water, leaders in our state are highlighting alternatives to salt for our roadways. Wisconsin SaltWise is a statewide program working to reduce salt pollution in Wisconsin's lakes, streams, and drinking water. They're teaming up with contractors and public works crews across the state to educate on science-backed strategies to maintain safety while still reducing overall salt use. Earlier this week, they held an in-person training with Bruce Company staff where they demonstrated methods to avoid over-application.
We're landscapers, right? So for 7 months of the year, we try to make the property look real good, and then for 5 months, we're trying to keep it super safe. And by doing this, by reducing chlorides, we're also really helping all of the plant life.
And the salt applied to the pavement ultimately ends up finding its way into the area, lakes, streams, rivers, and eventually drinking water, which is why Wisconsin Saltwise says these improved practices are so very critical. In fact, anything we put right on our driveways, our roads, or our lawns when we get back to landscaping, as the gentleman pointed out there, things like pesticides and other things like that have to be used sparingly and appropriately as well, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that come spring. All right, leading into Christmas, flu cases were on the rise nationwide, and experts are worried now that holiday gatherings could cause those numbers to absolutely spike. Fox News' Caroline Elliott has that story.
On Christmas, many of us are surrounded by family and friends, but even in the days leading up to the holiday, it's likely we've already been around a lot more people.
It's about 40 of us. We're going to have lots of fun.
But what's not fun is that this is unfolding during an unusually intense flu season, one that started early with cases surging in November to levels typically seen in late December. So far, the CDC is estimating nearly 5 million cases nationwide.
When a flu season starts early, it is likely to be a bit more severe and a bit more drawn out.
This as Americans are being hit hard with a new substrain, H3N2, that tends to be more infectious with symptoms including fever, cough, body aches, and fatigue that can be more severe.
That's probably taken over most of the cases that we're already seeing.
This strain isn't included in this season's vaccine formulation. Still, experts are urging folks to get it.
It's not so different that the vaccine doesn't work. But even if the match is slightly off, we do have really good data in flu, as we did for COVID, that suggests that if you've been recently vaccinated, recently propped up your antibodies, that your likelihood of getting a severe case, even if you get a case of the flu, is so much less.
Vaccinations help slow transmission, especially if you're going to be around some of the most vulnerable, the elderly, the very young, and those who are immunocompromised.
Make sure you wash your hands very frequently to prevent yourself from getting ill and prevent others in your household from getting ill.
If you're having flu symptoms, doctors suggest to take an at-home flu test and seek medical help if you're having trouble breathing or if symptoms persist. In Atlanta, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
All right, so we have ourselves a very green Christmas, but we did have something kind of close to snow in the last few days. It's called Graupel, and we'll get the explanation of that with meteorologist Holly Baker.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts Dictionary. Now, we have another word of the day today, and as we pretty much transition into seasons, we're going to start to see a little bit more of those different things happening with our weather and the types of weather and rainfall that we're going to get, or precipitation, I should say. But let's go ahead and dive into our word of the day for this week. The word of the day is Graupel. So you've heard the name before, but you may not be familiar with the term and comparing it to other types of precipitation that falls during the fall and even the winter perhaps. So in this picture, you'll see some tiny little snow pellets. Yes, snow pellets. That is exactly what Graupel is. It is small, soft snow pellets, meaning they're very, very soft. They have a little bit of a crisp, but they're very, very soft, and it typically starts and it falls. It is technically considered snow. So even if you don't have snow on a day of snow, if you got Graupel, then that's kind of like a trace of snow. But let's go ahead and dive deep into what exactly is Graupel. I'm going to step out the way so you can actually see exactly the breakdown of this. So we're going to start at the beginning of the picture here. You see where snow forms. So imagine in the clouds is where the cooler temperatures are for sure. You got precipitation or snow falling, and as that snow falls, it continues to fall through layers of supercooled water droplets. So you have these water droplets that are a little bit warmer than pretty much the snow, and it falls through that supercooled layer with the water droplets. And so the water droplets with a temperature below 32 degrees. So that is what supercooled water droplets are, meaning that it's pretty much frozen cold, or cold water droplets, I should say, or they're at that freezing temperature, but they're not necessarily frozen just yet. So those droplets, as they fall, as you see here is with the purple box, those droplets freeze, or you can consider it rime. They freeze onto the snowflakes. So if you pay attention to the picture off to your left there, you'll see that those water droplets are freezing onto those snowflakes. And then it continues to fall. These are very, very tiny. And then the end result is that these tiny white pellets will pretty much resemble small hail. So it's going to look like this picture here. You see the little hail, it's going to look like a very, very small hail, but it's not necessarily hail. It's very, very soft, and it is crushable, meaning this little pellet right here, very, very small when it does fall. We're talking like pea-sized hail. That's a comparison for what Graupel is, except for it's not frozen solid. It is soft, and it is very, very, it has like a crunch, but it's very, very soft. So that is what Graupel is. And next time it rains and you're outdoors and then you're hearing some pellets falling, just try to go out and check. It may be hail, but also too, it could be Graupel. But the difference between the hail and the Graupel is going to be how they feel in texture. And in this case, Graupel is soft versus hail is going to be a little bit harder.
All right, thank you, Holly. And that was about as close as we got to any kind of a white Christmas event close to Christmas, and even that was a very minimal event recently. All right, coming up, we will wrap things up here on the Wisconsin Weather Experts. We'll take you to Science Day with some snow in Arizona next. Welcome back. The ice castles at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds open up to the public if you're looking for a road trip. Starts today, along with the ice towers. They have caves and spires. There's also a frosty bar and some snow tubing there. Ice castles will be open until late February, weather permitting, of course. What a beautiful scene right there. Now, there will be some unusual weather, at least in one place in the Arizona Valley today. Yeah, it's the most wonderful week of the year at the Arizona Science Center. It's going to look a lot like a winter wonderland down there. Look at that. It's the 14th annual Snow Week. Starting today through January 4th, there will be a blizzard of activities, get it, for all ages at the Downtown Phoenix Museum. And this does include an outdoor snow hill, as you can see right there at the front entrance. They've got some dazzling demonstrations, a bunch of hands-on activities. I love that they're making snow right there at the Arizona Science Center. Those kids are having an absolute blast. Well, we don't always have to go to a special place like that to get snow, but this year, yeah, you'll have to go find some man-made snow, maybe up at Sunburst or a Little Swiss or something if you want to get your snow fix. And if you ever have any questions or want to send us an idea of what you'd like to see on this show, be a part of it, well, you can click on that QR code right there and it'll send you directly through to us. Just let us know what you want to see, what you'd like to hear, what question you have for the Wisconsin Weather Experts. All right, we will see you back here on Monday with another edition of the Wisconsin Weather Experts. Until then, take care and tune in for updates with the transition back to snow Sunday night.